Unless something freaky happens in the 8 days between Saturday, November 11th and Saturday, November 18th, they're going to go 12-0 for sure. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football, back at it again. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on all things college football, pro football, Madden, EA college football, the NFL draft, anything related to American football, hit the red subscribe button. You'll not be disappointed. Also hit the like button too. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all those things. I really appreciate it. And without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, this last weekend, we saw a ton of college football spring games. And again, I know what everybody says. It's a spring game. It's a spring game. You can't really tell much from a spring game. You can't in certain ways, but for the most part, you're able to tell general narratives. Now, I think that there is no greater team to talk about than the two-time defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs, because they got a lot that's going on here. Jalen Carr, they got to replace Stetson Bennett. They got a lot of things going on both offense and defense that they have to replace. Looks like they've done a good job in some areas. Potential other areas may need to work on a little bit, but for the most part, Georgia looks like they're really dominant. Let's get into that article really quickly here. So you can come over here and find this. I'm going to include this link here. I also want to make sure I include it here without starting, because this is what our dear friend, Mr. Kirby, he's got 2 national championships. He doesn't care how he looks. He's worried about ball. So anyways, come check this out. You'll see the spring game here and all those highlights here on Matthew Loves Ball. And over here on DogNation.com, they have a really good breakdown of how the game went. And again, you'll come over here and basically see the big news from the day was our dear friend, Mr. Carson Beck. So Carson Beck, 6'4", 215 from Jacksonville, Florida. And again, really, really highly, not as highly rated as a couple of the other people on the team, but again, still a 4-star player, number 3 quarterback, top Prep Star Magazine's 4-star quarterback, top 150 Dream Team, number 3 QB, number 100 prospect nationally. Really, really solid here. After sitting on the bench for a couple of years, came in and actually looked really, really good with the first team and even with the second team offenses out there. And it mentions here that Brock Vandagriff was effective enough to lead the QB room up for speculation. So, for the most part, I think that Carson Beck is going to be the starter hanging into it. However, Brock Vandagriff, who has the ability to move a little bit there, he actually had a pretty good scramble in that game there. So, again, quarterback, looks like Georgia. Stetson Bennett's gone, 2-time national championship quarterback. But for the most part, I'm telling you, I think that they're solid. Their QB room looks pretty good. So it said here, Beck marched the first-team offense to touchdowns against the first-team defense on the first 3 possessions, making a strike. So bam, just bam, bam, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. He looks pretty good. And again, Coach Kirby Smart expressed displeasure with the defense at halftime, apparently motivating them to perform better in the second half, as the only touchdowns were an interception for a touchdown and a 10-yard pass on the final play of the game. So Carson Beck looked pretty good with the first team here, 13 for 18, had a couple touchdowns with the first team offense. He was 2 for 4 for 20 yards working with the second team. Had a really good kind of a wheel route to Brock Bowers, the All-American tight end. So I'll tell you, Carson Beck, we're worried about Stetson Bennett. Don't worry about it. They are in just good hands. Brock Vandagriff, the backup quarterback, can also run a little bit more. Maybe not as precise as Carson was, but still pretty good. So running backs look solid. Receivers actually look pretty good too. So Dominic Lovett is clearly an impact addition, showing his route running and hands and ability to make yards after the catch. Mekhi Muse had 4 for 91, including an explosive 54-yard catch and run and a 10-yard TD on the final play of the game from Brock Vandagriff. And then obviously Bowers, a tight end, he's great. Now, here's where things get interesting here, because Georgia has been known for their ability to have just amazing amounts of defensive guys. Trayvon Walker, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, just studs. Oh, I mean, I missed like 7 more first-rounders in that group right there from what I said, but absolute studs on the offensive side, defensive side of the ball. Offense now looks like they're pretty good. Offensive line, 3 interior starters that are returning, in addition to 2 new tackles. But again, they had their way with the defensive line. Did a really, really good job. Like you said, touchdowns in the first 3 drives for the first team offense looked really good. However, you can't say one without the other. Defensive line, Kirby Smart said Georgia might have to scheme some pressure, as the first team defensive line didn't appear to have much bite. I do think that they had a much better production from the linebacker core out here. So Xavier Ansari led the defense with 7 tackles. Jamin Dumas-Johnson, but again, he said the first team defense got pushed around a little bit, but again, he's coming back. He's going to be good. So like I said, Jamin Dumas-Johnson, Xavier Ansari, they're going to be just fine. Another guy I really wanted to highlight here was also Nazir Stackhouse. So You know, Jalen Carter, he's gone. You got Jordan Davis last year, he's gone. You got a lot of studs out there up front that are gone. Nazir Stackhouse takes the role of space eater. And again, he did that last season. So he's going to be really, really, vital for this defense, making sure, Xavier Sori and Jamin Dumas-Johnson have the ability to flow and run freely. Their secondary looks like it's decent. The up front looks like I have a little bit of work, especially compared to the offensive line. And again, is it better offensive line? Is it better defensive line? I don't know. But I do know that, Nazir is going to be counted on a lot this next season to free up the people behind him and make plays. And it's really important to consider this too. So as much as you might say, oh, well, the defensive line didn't look as good as you wanted them to. Oh, the quarterbacks look pretty solid. Running backs receive. Listen, let's just make sure we're clear about all of the situations. This is all important to talk about. However, the most important thing to talk about and why I believe Georgia is going to make another CFP run. Do I know if they're going to win it? I don't know. They're for sure going to get there because, first of all, if you just look at their schedule, it just, wow. So their schedule includes 7 home games, 4 away games, and 1 neutral site game. So what they do is they start off September with UT Martin at home, Ball State at home. South Carolina home will be interesting. I'm just saying it's going to be interesting. UAB at home. At Auburn, new head coach. Kentucky, new quarterback. At Vanderbilt, that's Vanderbilt. Florida, new quarterback at a neutral site. Missouri, not really sure what to make of there. Ole Miss is going to be interesting. This is a 2-week stretch where it will at least get interesting. If you think about that, they drew, so again, the way the SEC works right now, it's 14 teams. Next year, it's going to be 16. It's 14 teams right now. You play 6 on your side and 2 on the other. The 2 that they drew from the other was Auburn and Ole Miss. And Ole Miss is a good team. They're really good. I like what they're doing. I like their offense. Their offense is explosive. But no Alabama, no LSU, no Arkansas, nobody like that out there to play off of. So they play Ole Miss, and then they play at Tennessee, replacing a quarterback, and then they play at Georgia Tech, replacing a head coach. So there's a lot of uncertainty on their schedule. They are the surest bet, I'm telling you right now. Unless something freaky happens in the 8 days between Saturday, November 11th and Saturday, November 18th, they're going to go 12-0 for sure. How they do in the conference championship, I don't know, but they're going to go 12-0, mark my words. And who else agrees with me? Maybe not the 12-0 part, but winning the national championship part, because Georgia has just about the surest bet to make the national championship. Right now, title odds are 225 versus Alabama, and then we have Ohio State and Michigan. Again, these are plus odds right here. So basically it means you bet 100, you win 225, you bet 100 on Alabama, you win 500, and so on. Now, really interesting here, because a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, the SEC, they can do that whole, 7 home games, only 4 true away games thing because the schedules are just so hard. The schedules are just so hard. The schedules are just so hard. Well, I want to make sure we understand something about the upcoming changes to the SEC and the Big Ten to keep in mind here. So we have Georgia and Alabama, obviously 2 SEC teams. We have LSU down here as well. Look at the next 3. Look at 3 through 5. Ohio State, Michigan, USC. USC, not this season, but next season is going to be in the Big Ten. I am not saying that Georgia is automatically going to have a cakewalk every year, but I will say they might have to start to schedule harder opponents because the Ohio State, Michigan, USC, the Big Ten is not going to touch them necessarily anytime soon because of how unprecedented success the SEC has had recently. But they're inching a little bit closer now. You could say the same thing about Georgia. You could say about Michigan's schedule last season because Michigan had a soft one too. But I am saying there's going to be an arms race for competitiveness. I don't know if you're going to have 4 true away games anymore in the future. And that's where I think it's going to happen there. But again, still, regardless, 2023, Georgia, barring something crazy happening between November 11th and November 18th, they're going 12-0 at least. I think it's interesting to see the situation that's going on with Georgia's defensive line. And again, it's a spring game. There's not too much to make about it there. But Georgia's defensive line has been murderer's row for the last 2 years. This year, are they going to be able to adjust without that? Do you have to start bringing pressure? Do you have to start blitzing more? It might open them up for more opportunities for teams to take advantage of that. But again, still, like you said, you saw the schedule right there. They're walking to 12-0. Ole Miss at home and then at Tennessee within 8 days of each other. We'll see there, but more than likely, Georgia Bulldogs going to run the table in the regular season conference championship in addition to the CFP. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. I really appreciate it. That's it for me, guys. I'll see you guys later. I am out.